Welcome to the Find My Catalyst podcast. I actually found an amazing catalyst and had a chance to play golf with him this past weekend. Now, this episode is going live in January, and Larry Long Jr. and I had a chance to play golf back in December. As you know, sales is another word for problem solving. We all have problems that we're looking to solve, and we know that there are solutions out there, but we struggle with this. So how do we find the solution? Where does the nudge come from to help us take the next step and start solving these tough problems? The intention of this podcast is to help you find your catalyst and take that next step. I'm Mike Simmons. I'm the founder of Catalyst Sale. And today, Larry Long Jr. joins me. And I think you will find he is definitely a catalyst. Larry, it is good to see you again. I just saw you a couple of days ago. Now, we record this stuff in advance and then it goes live. This will go live sometime toward the end of January, given where we are right now from a scheduling perspective. But it is awesome. Larry just happened to be in Phoenix, made a trip to be able to be in Phoenix so that he could hit a goal. And we'll talk a little bit about his goal. But I just saw Larry Long Jr. on the golf course in the flesh just a couple of days ago. And it was awesome.
No see. Great to see you again, Mike.
I am happy you made it home.
Yes, I'm back in Durham, North Kakalaki, North Carolina.
So in Durham, how cold will it get in the winter? Like, do you ever get snow out there?
Oh, we definitely do. And don't let it ice. It'll shut the whole city down for days. They don't know how to act. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It varies. It'll be 70 degrees and then snowy the next day. Welcome to North Carolina in the wintertime.
So when Larry and I started playing, one of the first sets of questions that he asked was about rattlesnakes. I don't know if he thought that rattlesnakes just hang out at every hole and every golf course and that they're going to come up. But I got the sense that you were worried about what was going to kill you on the golf course because it went from rattlesnakes to coyote. The thing that drove you absolutely nuts was when I talked about this really itty bitty little thing. What's the little itty bitty thing?
Scorpion. I had to get the lay of the land, Mike, because most predators, they like dark meat. So I'm in trouble. You don't have to worry about this, but I just got to watch my back.
Hey, knowing what you did as a kid and in school, I imagine you're a little bit faster than me. So I would have had to have made a move on you, like tripped you before going or else I would have been done for.
Oh, man. I appreciate you giving me the lay of the land. I was keeping my head on a swivel because I don't mess with Wile E. Coyote.
And that was the crazy thing. We didn't really see anything. We didn't see anything out there. Spent a little bit of time in the desert. It was funny. Larry said, he got my balls in the desert. And he looks at me and goes, hey, don't hit out of the desert. You're gonna wreck your clubs. Larry, what'd I tell you?
Everyone carries a desert club. I've never heard of that before.
Everybody has a desert club. You got to have a desert club if you're going to play out here in the desert. It was absolutely awesome to get out on the golf course. So
we had a blast. I can't wait to get back to Phoenix again to hack it around again.
Well, that or I'm going to get out to Raleigh. I got to get out. I got to get out there. See what it's like to play golf on the East Coast. It's a little bit different.
Pinehurst, man. Pinehurst. Nothing but great golf courses in Pinehurst, North Kakalaki.
So you were on the West Coast doing some stuff with Salesforce. How was that experience?
It was unbelievable. I had the absolute honor and privilege of emceeing their sales summit. I think outside the quota. I think there were 36 speakers, 22 sessions, 3 keynotes, Coach Prime, Neon Deion Sanders. For the other football fans, Sir Arsene Wenger, former coach of the English Premier League Arsenal and the Invincibles. And then for any Bravo fans, Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing New York, in addition to a bunch of sales legends, John Barrows, Morgan Ingram, Lori Richardson, the list goes on and on. But I was in the studio, makeup and all. I told the makeup artist, unless you're a magician, I don't think you can do anything with this mug. But I was in the studio as the MC. Unbelievable, Mike.
So let's talk a bit about what you're doing with your business. You went through transition early in this year, in 2021. And I know that this is going to go live in 2022. So we'll talk about it in the context of last year. Last year, you go through this amazing transition. Let's talk a little bit about that. What was the transition? What happened? And where are you now?
Yeah, so I was a sales leader, director of collegiate sales for a software company that sold software to elite athletic teams. We had over 3,000 college teams, and my team, my sales team, we were rolling. We had acquired a company that was in the name, image, likeness space and just gaining tons of momentum. Now, at the same time, I was also active helping sales professionals, entrepreneurs, really with mindset, with production, productivity, really anything around business and sales. So March 26th was the big transition. And I was just talking to my son this morning. I said, hey, the name of my second solo book should be Got Fired, Best Thing That Happened Ever. Because after March 26th, it's just been amazing. I've been so fortunate, so blessed to be a keynote speaker. I work sales kickoffs, quarterly kickoffs, sales meetings, association meetings, colleges, universities, just spreading the word of positivity, of choice, of intentionality, and really helping to lift people up instead of tearing them down. And I'm having a ton of fun. I can tell you, I'm living my best life.
So what happened? So you get the call, you get fired,
Yep.
get the call. What happens next?
Oh, goodness. My wife and I, we went outside and did a happy dance. It was it was a happy day. I don't know if you can see my shirt, but it says happy. Oh, goodness. It was it really was, because I was at a crossroads of, do I make the jump myself? And I'll be honest, I was scared. And my wife was encouraging me, but I still, those internal, I used to own an indoor baseball and softball academy, and that didn't work out. It failed miserably. And that was a situation I didn't want to go back to. Not being able to pay my rent, not being able to pay my car payment, having to call my mom, my dad, my grandmom. Can you help little Larry out? I mean, I got a family. So I told my wife, because she called me out, she said, hey, you're faking the funk. You tell everyone else to pursue their dream, look in the mirror. You're not living what you preach. And she was absolutely right. And she said, what's up with that? I said, I'm scared. She said, come on, baby. You got the right one, baby. You got to ride or die. She said, let's plan and do that work. So she was behind me the whole time, but I was still scared. And I can tell you that the mind is powerful. I was having flashbacks to what happened before. And I said, I don't want to go back to that life again where I can't take care of my obligations. She said, hey, I got you, boo. So when March 26th came, it really was a blessing, not even in disguise. It was a blessing, because essentially they gave me a soft parachute. And after March 26th, I had my first paid speaking engagement of this year on April the 6th. And we've been rolling ever since. I'm looking at my board. It's just been gaining momentum. By the time this comes out, I think January is going to be my best month ever. That's the way it's shaping up right now. And I'm having a ton of fun, impacting a lot of people's lives. After I left you in Phoenix, I had the opportunity to speak to an athletic conference, their Student Athlete Advisory Council, in the airport. Thank you for the ideas on the quiet space right outside the international gate. It was quiet as a mouse.
Awesome.
Quiet as a mouse. So I did it right from that little corner. Ooh, went great.
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit about mindset here, because there's a perspective that you bring to the conversation. Not only you, but the people around you. So you think about your wife, like there's a perspective that you both brought to this. How'd you get there? Like, how'd you get to the point where you could go through and say, let's go, instead of, oh shit?
Yeah, well, we were ready. We had been planning. And it's one of those things that when the opportunity knocks, you better answer the door. And the opportunity came knocking. It not just came knocking, it beat me over the head and said, boy, if this ain't the sign. And I'll be honest, during this time, my mom is one of my biggest counselors as well. And she said, little Larry, you got to pray harder. And I did. And it's just the power when you have faith. You can't have fear and faith at the same time. Denzel Washington has a great line. You can YouTube it, where he talks about faith. You can't have fear if you truly have faith. And when everything happened, it was like, wow, this is where I need to be. And that internal belief. Henry Ford, I love quotes. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And I'll tell you, having my mom, my wife, my family, my friends, my kids, just supporting. And I got to give a shout out to my coach. I started working with a performance coach at the start of June, that's been game changing. I mean, she stretches me. I mean, I have a session later on today. I've never felt so good getting uncomfortable. She gets me out of my comfort zone every time we meet. And it feels so good because I'm growing. I'm challenging. She's challenging me and I'm stepping up to the challenge most times. Sometimes I don't uphold my commitments and she holds me accountable and I feel bad, but then I'm able to redeem myself. It's just been amazing. We've gotten to places. She's helped me get to places that I never would have imagined that I would be. And that's what I'm living each and every day right now, Mike.
So why do we struggle with the tough stuff? Meaning, like, why do we struggle putting ourselves in positions where we've got to deal with tough stuff?
The comfort zone feels so comfortable. Come on, man. Who doesn't like to feel comfortable where you know exactly what's going to happen? I wake up at 8 o'clock. I go to the office at 8:30. I eat my porridge. And then I know what's going to happen with my day. Come on, man. That's the good life. Or is it? It's really not. And it's when you stretch yourself and you put yourself in positions, you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's when you start to see growth and feel growth and you're able to pass that along. I mean, one of the proudest accomplishments over this last 9 months has been being able to show my son and my daughter. My son's 12, my daughter's 8, of what it means to achieve goals, to set lofty goals and even miss goals. I've missed goals, but I've gotten further than where I thought I would. So it's one of those things. I think we've all heard of SMART goals. I don't believe in SMART goals. I think you take the A and the R out. Attainable? Nope. Realistic? Nope. Let's go after unrealistic, unattainable goals. We shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you're amongst the stars. That's what my coach has instilled in me. Let's go shoot for the moon. Who would have thunk it that Larry Long Jr. and his family are going to Spain? We're going to England. I never would have imagined that I'd be working and playing golf in Spain and England. Come on now. You must be kidding. We're about to make this thing a reality next year.
It's amazing what happens when you push beyond what you think is possible. And the type of stretch that can happen when you do that, rather than get stuck in your own kind of biases and preconceived notions of kind of, this is what I do and this is where I fit and this is how things have always been done before. So let's go ahead and keep doing them this way. We got to push outside of the boundaries. And then if we're comfortable doing that, and it's got to be uncomfortable, so comfortable with the uncomfortable stuff, then we also have to be open, not only to ourselves, but to our teams, to our organization, but being able to deal with failure because it's going to happen. Like you're going to miss. I know I hit at least one shot where I hit a tree, ended up having to hit my next shot from behind where I hit my first shot. So like that happens. And that's the beauty of the game that we get a chance to play on Sunday, which is golf. Like you're going to make mistakes, you're going to screw up, but you're still in the game and you get to keep playing it.
You win and you learn. And that's this game we call life. We call sales. We call business. We call golf. There's so many learning lessons. And I just encourage folks to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, make it an adventure and even a misadventure, because I look through my journey line and there's been ups and there's been downs, twists, turns. And it's through some of those downs that I've learned the most. It's through some of those downs that I've been able to bounce back to heights that I never would have imagined. And it's like, yeah, no one likes to lose. But if you do lose, which is going to happen, if you're playing the game, you're going to lose at some point. You're not going to be undefeated for your life. It's like, what can you learn from that? And then who can you pass those learnings to? So, I mean, you don't know this, Mike, but our conversation was just insightful. You sharing your journey, you sharing your outlook, your philosophy. I was taking mental notes. You might have seen me writing and you must have been thinking, oh, he's adding up his score. He should pull out an abacus. But I was taking notes from our conversation because you can learn something from everybody, especially someone that has experience. And you talked about it, perspective. That's not just a one-track perspective, a perspective that's open. So I appreciate that from you, man. You don't even know what impact you had on me during that round.
Right back at you, man. And I think one of the things as you're going through this, we talk about the experience. So look, all of us have different experiences. Yeah, everybody's heard of this story. I grew up out on Long Island. I lived in Jersey for a couple of years, then moved to Southern California. And when I was in high school, spring break, freshman year in high school, go to Southern California, come out here to go to Arizona State University. What's funny is the twosome that we played with, the guy was in the same fraternity house that I was in just a couple of years before, but we all know the same people. So there's this reminiscing, you go back into the glory days. But the point I want to make is that there are people who are significantly early on the journey that we've all kind of gone on that we can learn from as well, because their perspective, that beginner's mind perspective, can open our eyes to things that we forgot that we might have realized, hey, you know what? I didn't realize how hard that was or how important that part of it was, because it just happens in this kind of unconscious competence role. Like I aspire one day, I am going to be able to clear my mind completely when I swing a golf club, and I will hit the ball pure. Nothing else will get in the way one day. And someday I'll get that. And I have no idea when it's going to happen. It certainly didn't happen when we were out at the golf course. There were a couple of good shots, but there were a couple of ugly shots. So like we can learn from everybody though, whether it's the person who has 200 years of experience or it's the person who's just starting out with the amazing questions they ask.
So true. That's life. That's this game we call life. It's living, it's learning, and my favorite, it's loving.
So let's talk about loving. Like, what is it that you love? Like, what do you love about what you've been doing the last now, plus or minus? So by the time this goes live, it's going to go be 10 months. But right now, it's just a little bit over 7.5, 8 months. But what do you love about life in the context of this?
It's everything. But the role that I play as chief energy officer, CEO of my own business, is impact. I get to impact folks. And even when I was in corporate America, I got to impact my team, those that were cross-functional, the company, but there's a limited impact there. Now, I wouldn't say it's unlimited, but it's an expanded impact. I'm able to impact lives for the positive, and I get to hear the stories of my man Manan in Australia getting back on his fitness journey, taking care of business financially so he can support his family in India. That's mind-blowing right there. Being able to impact lives, being able to take care of my family. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the blessings that we've run into have been amazing. That was one of the big concerns going out on my own was, hey, Larry, you've done speaking for free 99. My wife said free 99 doesn't pay our light bill. I believe in you, but what's your plan, baby? The plan has come together beyond belief where we're now able to bless others financially. Who would have thunk it? We never would have thought that would be possible. And then just the experiences with the kids. I mean, I was just in New York for SKO. My family came with me. My mother-in-law, who was in town from Argentina, she's there chilling. She said no more walking because they walked around Central Park. They're walking around Times Square. She's a little bit older. She said, no mas caminar. I said, hey, better you than me. I take a Uber. But I'm loving every opportunity, every experience. And I talked about this earlier. I do a little midday motivational minute. I talked about authentic relationships. And I gave you a shout out, Mike. You're up on my board. Mike Simmons in Phoenix. When you take a relationship with someone that you know from Clubhouse, from LinkedIn, from Zoom, and you really get to know them, those 4.5, 5 hours that we spend together, our relationship is now stronger. I know you just a lot more than what I did before. That's what it's all about from my perspective. Those authentic relationships built on trust, where you're just looking out for one another and you truly care. That's it right there. That's all I need right there.
And I can tell you this, I have no idea what it is that Larry eats or drinks to get the kind of energy that he has, but this doesn't stop. Like this isn't, I got to work to bump up my energy, and Larry does not stop. Like this booms and it's exciting and it's empowering and it creates a level of enthusiasm. And so Larry, thank you for being genuine, because that's what I saw when we had a chance to hang out with each other for a number of hours, go through thick and thin the journey of golf. I saw the energy, and the energy never disappeared. So thank you.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Life is good. Life is good. And for us to be just fortunate to spend that time. And like you said, I got my mask here. I'm going to keep my droplets to myself, but I'm going to spread the positivity because it's contagious. You think about it, a smile is contagious. I know that right now, me just saying that, your listeners, they're smiling. Some of them are shaking their head like, yeah, he's got a smile on his face. There's nothing more amazing in life, at least for me, than that right there. Being able to pass along a smile, a word of motivation, inspiration, transformation, and positivity.
So I want to get into the mindset stuff, but I want to talk about coaching a little bit first. And what point were you like, wow, you know what? It's time for me to go out and get a coach. And then all of a sudden, and what was that kind of journey like? So, hey, it's time for me to go out and get a coach. Now, a little bit of background. Larry Long Jr. played for the Terps, college out in Maryland. I think they're now in the Big Ten. At least they figured out a way to move themselves into the Big Ten. But he played for the Terps. And when I asked him about what he played, he was out in the outfield. And a lot of this was due to the speed that this guy had. And I'm sure there were some coaches that helped develop that over time. So you're a sports guy who knows the value of seeing a coach in a team environment. How'd that translate over to a business environment? What compelled you to go find a coach? What have you learned working with a coach?
I was hesitant. And it's one of those things where I knew I needed a coach, but we know a lot of things. I know I'm not supposed to eat fried foods. I don't know if you know about Bojangles, but that's some of the best fried chicken and biscuits in town. You asked me, Larry, what time it is? It's bow time. So I knew I needed a coach. I had a relationship. I had met a young lady who was coaching, and she said, hey, I joined this coaching group. Would you be open to a discovery call? Yeah, I said, yeah, I'll listen in. Well, it just felt right. And I told my wife, I'm going to hire this coach. My wife heard the price tag and she said, you're going to what? For how much? She said, I'll do it for half price. I said, nah, baby, I love you. Our relationship it would be explosive. But I can tell you that my wife is a huge believer. My coach, what's up, Kristen Frade, is absolutely amazing. And the reason why is it's just like when you're lifting weights and you have a spotter, you just feel that comfort level. You got that someone who's supporting you. Come on, Mike, one more rep. Come on, Mike, let's get another one. It's just, it's taking you to heights that you never would have thought imaginable. It's holding you accountable. It's helping you to believe in your heart, in your mind that, hey, yes, I can. It's getting you focused. Because there's so many distractions, whether you're in a gym or whether you're on a sales call, whether you're in life and in business, there's so many things that can be distracting. My coach, right here, let's focus on the top 3 goals. If it falls outside of those, you got to say no. That's what we've been working on. Hey, Larry, you're so supportive of other people. But when you talk to yourself, you talk so much trash. You talk down to yourself. What's up with that? A lot of it has been the self-work. It's kind of like when you fly, they say, hey, put your oxygen mask on first so you can then give oxygen to other people. Well, in sales, in business, and in life, are you giving yourself oxygen so you can be at your best for other people, whether that's your clients, whether it's your prospects, whether it's your partners, your colleagues? If you can't answer that resounding yes, I strongly recommend get a coach, get a mentor, get a mini mentor, have someone. I mean, you should have a board of directors. You need a cheerleader. Hercules. That's my mom. She supports me no matter what. You need the person that's going to kick you in your behind. That's my wife and my coach. You need the people that will encourage you, challenge you to be your best. It just makes life so amazing. And that's been my experience. I was hesitant, but I can tell you that my wife is probably my coach's number 1 fan because of the work, the intentionality, the focus that she's got me on. She's taken my game from good to almost great. And once I get to great, we're going to take it up another notch. So it's exciting, man.
The coach, think about it. Anytime that anybody out there who's had an opportunity to work with a coach, let's just go back to youth sports, right? So you go back to youth sports, you get a chance to, work with a coach. What do? They teach you a bit of technique. They can help you see things that you may not be able to see. They can hold you accountable to the things that are out there that, you may feel like things are going really well, but the reality is that thing, they're looking at you and seeing things that you don't see. I mean, I remember, days of going through film, and you look at film and, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. It's brutal. But imagine even when you're looking at that and you're starting to say, well, I can see all these other things, but the coach is there to get into the detail, that minute detail. And the thing that the other thing that the coach is there for is they don't want the credit. They're not doing the work. You're doing the work. And the spotter is not doing the squat or the bench press. You're doing the work, and you've got to go out there and do the work. So if you are struggling with any of this stuff, you're like, hey, I don't know what's next. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to do this. Look for coaches. Coaches are kind of like real estate agents. You can find them just about anywhere. Now, not every real estate agent is made the same. So not all coaches are made the same. So you find a good coach, you talk with people around you, but you'll figure it out. And then you'll find in Larry, if you can't see the visual, but Larry's pulling his hands together, and what will end up happening is you'll find the right fit. You'll find the right fit. You may need to test a couple of different times. And when you find the right fit, you'll know it, and then things will go along. But coach, I can't imagine accomplishing half of what I've accomplished in any place where I've accomplished it without having either a coach, a mentor, or a trainer. And sometimes they play all three roles. Sometimes they just focus on one of those. But Larry, go.
You're spot on, Mike. I mean, hey, I got to give you the Rose Gold Mike Award and the Gold Mike Award. I know they can't see it, but I've got my Gold Mike, my Rose Gold, which I thought was platinum, but I'm colorblind Mike Award. And I mean, I'm looking at our I'm going off on a tangent. You beat me by a stroke, man.
I didn't beat you by a stroke. Come on.
I demand a rematch.
I must have lied on one of those holes because I played like absolute dog crap. Like it was a rough day. I mean, I know everybody's like, how long are you guys going to keep talking about golf? How long? But it was a rough day, but it was absolutely awesome because we had a great time. And that's the thing. Like, if there's something to take away from that, if we apply, Larry's talked about it a couple of different times, business life, and sales. You know what? Sometimes you lose. Sometimes you run out of time. Sometimes the score is not on your side. But if you're having fun, are committed to the process, doing the work, there's always going to be another chance to get better. There's always going to be another chance to get better, and just keep working your way through that. But so that is the first time I have seen a gold mic and a rose gold mic. And that is absolutely awesome. I feel you've raised my energy level. Oh boy, he's got another one. What is the third color mic that you have? Why do you have three microphones?
Just in case.
What do you do with three microphones? Like,
oh man, I need four. Now the first one I got as a gift and it broke, so I had to go and replace it. These are karaoke mics off of Amazon.
All right, what's your favorite karaoke song?
Oh goodness, Ebony and Ivory, of course. I can't sing. I'm tone deaf.
We could have done that. We could have done that on the golf course. Why didn't we? I mean,
oh, no doubt, Mike. I love when you talk about sales, and I know that your thing is catalyst sales, and I love it. There's so many parallels, and I love what you just said about having fun. I always encourage people to look at their priorities, and everyone's priorities are different, whether it's faith, family, friends, fun, fitness, finances, philanthropy. I know that's not an F, but I spell phonetically or frenetically, however you want to chop it up. And
I can spell with an F. There you go.
Yeah. And then you look at your priorities and you determine, hey, how am I doing in each of these buckets? What's more important to me than others? And am I putting myself in the best position? Where can I level up? Is it around the time with my family, making sure that I'm looking up versus looking down as I look down at my cell phone, which if you're spending quality time with your family, your kids, your significant other, and you're looking down, that's not quality time. You got to be looking up and be present. Your presence is such a present, but I'm not going to preach, but I just encourage folks to have fun, to look for areas to up level where you can get better because you're serving as an example, whether you know it or not. People are watching and you're either a good example or a not so good example. Wah, wah.
So what are some things you put in place to hold yourself accountable to that? So whether it's, on a personal accountability side, or you got a great spouse who can give you the kick in the ass when you need it. Like, what is it that you do to either hold yourself or hold teams that you've been around accountable?
Write it down and get crystal clear. What does success look like? What are our goals? Why? Why are we striving for this? Especially when you look at sales and sales leadership. If you're leading a team, each one of your reps probably has a different why. Some folks are out for the money. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Other folks, they want to have impact. They want to change lives. Other folks, they might just want the recognition. I just want a pat on the back to make me feel good. That'll make my day, my week, my month, my quarter, my year. All I need is just the praise. So it's really, it's setting goals, documenting them, and then measuring it. It's like, hey, are we making progress? How are we doing? Do we need to make some adjustments? Do we need to flex? And then it's having those accountability partners that are there to support you, that are there to be productive, because there's always areas of improvement, whether it's baseball, where strikeouts are a part of the game, whether it's golf, where bad shots are part of the game, sales, life, business. There's always going to be good as well as not so good. How do you keep that happy medium and keep striving to be the best that you can be along the way? It's that accountability and self-accountability. Having that discipline is so tough, but it's what separates the good from the great from the all-stars, the Hall of Famers, but also who's on your team. Because I don't know too many people that can do it alone. When you look around, who's on your board of directors? Who's on the A team that's supporting you to get you there? That's it.
I've got another A for you too. Assume. What happens when you assume that you understand what gets people excited, what gets people motivated, why people are doing things? What happens when you make that assumption?
You can look at the words in the word assume, and you can figure out what it's going to make out of you and not me. I'm not trying to assume. And that's such an important part that you raised, asking questions and then being quiet and listening, truly listening, not listening to butt in, not listening to respond, but listening to understand. What are they saying? What do they mean by that? Why are they saying it? When you truly understand and care about other people, you're going to listen, you're going to process it, and then you're going to react. So many times we listen, it goes in one ear, out the other, and then boom, we get back to our talk track. It's like, did you not hear anything that I just said? Well, you see what happened was.
Well, and as you're talking about listening, I wonder, how often do we listen to ourselves? Like, how often do we actually find ourselves the space to be quiet and listen to ourselves rather than assume that we're listening and just moving things forward? So like, do you have a reflective practice that you use to listen to yourself, or whether a reflective practice or journaling practice or something like that? How do you check yourself?
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't, and I need to. I used to go to yoga. Funny story, Mike. I used to go to yoga, and then I tried hot yoga. I said, "Oh, this would be a great idea." Survey says, nah. When they say hot yoga, they mean hot yoga. I didn't realize you're supposed to hydrate 48 hours in advance. I was parched like the desert out there in Arizona. I got in there. I thought I was going to die. The instructor, the professor said, "Excuse me, sir, are you okay?" I said, "No." She said, "Just do the dead man's pose." I said, "Nope, because I might die." I had to get out of there. I was sweating. Then there was no more sweat left. I said, note to self, don't ever do hot yoga. So yoga, they call it practice. And I know why. Because I don't know if Allen Iverson listens, but we're talking about practice, Allen, not the game. You've got the practice. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of stuff running through my brain. When you're in that quiet studio and you're trying to get to that pose, namaste. Ooh, for me, there were tons of thoughts just running through my mind. I said, uh-oh, I'm doing this all wrong. But as I continued with it, I got a little bit better and I was able to really, like you said, clear my mind a little bit, not a lot. I'd be lying if I said my mind was clear. I don't know if that's ever even possible. Nothing's impossible, but that might be impossible. But essentially, it's so important, like you said, to have that white space where it's just you and your thoughts and nothing else. Because then that allows you to really reflect and plan for the future. But I'm going to be honest, Mike, I don't dedicate that time. I'm afraid of hot yoga, and I just haven't made the choice. I haven't been intentional with having that white space time. I'm putting it on my list. Now, the key is, am I going to execute? Because I got plenty of stuff on my list that stays on the list that doesn't actually get done. Shame on me.
Well, here's how I'm going to try to help hold you accountable. We'll talk about it periodically in the context of the golf game. And the thing that I do, the thing that I've found, and I went through this period of time where I played golf before we had kids, and then I stopped playing golf, and then I only played golf once a year, and then in the last 18 months or so, I've carded more golf rounds than any human being should. Actually, no, I haven't. I could absolutely do more because I didn't play every day. And one of these years I will play every day. I will at least get out and get 9 holes in every day. I walk the course because it gives me a chance to just have the meditative sound of the clubs clinking as you walk through. And every once in a while, people hear me on Clubhouse and they'll hear that in the background. And then the other thing I've been working on doing is completely shutting everything out when I swing the golf club. Like no swing thoughts. I've already set things up so I know what my target is. And then I look to block that out of my mind. And I can tell you it in a round where, let's say I'm playing 9 holes and maybe, 40, let's say I take 45 strokes in that 9-hole round, 40 if I'm playing really well, 9 to 15 of those are going to be putts. Not going to be much going on with the putt, but in that full swing, if I can quiet everything, then I feel like I've accomplished something. And if I can do it once in a round, that's phenomenal right now. That's how hard this is right now. It's so hard to quiet the mind, but you find that practice. And, it used to be for me lifting weights, and then it was mountain biking, but now it's golf. And so I am going to hold you accountable, Larry. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say, how many times were you able to clear your mind on a shot when you played? And we'll hold each other accountable there.
Love it. I appreciate it, Mike. I love it. I'm trying to catch up to you in the number of rounds that I'm playing. Life goals. It is, there he is. Life goals. If you can make the time if you make the time. And I know that sounds absolutely stupid and insane. There's always different excuses that you can come up with that will take up your time, energy, and resource. And I'm just, I was direct with you. I'm just coming out of a period of time where I was working in a different time zone. I was 8 hours behind my team, and I thought I could do it as be a machine and just keep going through. And, everything started breaking down. My body started breaking down. My brain started breaking down. I wasn't able to deliver my best self to these scenarios and ultimately not help my team in the way that I know someone of my experience and capability can do. And you've got to give yourself the grace. And sometimes, for me, my view when I get into high stress situations is just work harder, just keep going. I can just work harder. And before you know, you could burn out. And then now you're not there for everybody that you need to be there for. Your self-awareness is next level. And I love the example you've set to be self-aware. And the key word you said there is give yourself grace to step into the best situation for you, which I absolutely love. And a lot of high performers, they just push through and push through and push through until everything breaks down. I love that you nipped it in the bud and are making the choices that you need to make to be in the situation that you deserve to be.
Larry, had I nipped it in the bud earlier on in my career, I wouldn't have as much gray hair. I wouldn't have as many wrinkles, and I probably wouldn't have as many chins as I do. But I've got all of those, and those are battle scars because of going through this stuff.
You're getting older and wiser. I said that. My wife said, don't go telling those nice people you're getting wiser. You're getting older. But don't be lying to them. You ain't getting no wiser.
Larry, as we talked about, this is going to go live in January. So when everybody's listening to it, they're like, hey, it's January already. We're already past the first of the year, and we know we're recording earlier. What usually happens between now and when this thing is going to go live? Anything crazy happen between now and then?
Big time. I see it all the time. New Year's resolutions. And then New Year's resolutions that womp womp. So, I mean, when folks listen to this, I just want them to be encouraged. I don't care if you set goals and you already got off track. It's okay as long as you're trying. I don't know if anyone's ever done P90X. I didn't. I did P60X. I didn't make it the last 30 days. My wife and I were doing it together, trying to do the pull-ups. And then we found out that she was pregnant. We were expecting. So she was chilling on the sofa. The dog, my wife and my dog were looking at me, struggle as I do my pull-ups, and I just gave up. But Tony Horton says, try your best and forget the rest. And I mentioned it before, but I want folks to encourage themselves. Oftentimes, we beat ourselves up. Make sure you encourage yourself. Make sure you surround yourself with folks that are supporting you and not bringing you down. Like I said, I talked about authentic relationships and how do you foster and grow existing relationships? How do you foster and grow new relationships? Well, someone piped in and they added, how do you cut negative and toxic relationships, which is so tough. And sometimes those are within your closest friends. They're in your family unit. And you've got to make the tough decision that, hey, in order for me to move forward, I've got to cut it. And a lot of that is you got to cut the negative self-talk as well. So I just encourage you. I hope you know that I believe in you. I'm speaking for Mike. I'm a mind reader. Mike believes in you. You can make it happen. And whatever we can do to help, do not hesitate to ask for help. I've got a book coming out, Mike. We're looking forward to into March and April. The book is called Jolt. I don't know who came up with the crazy title, but we're getting you zapped into intentionality so you can rediscover and believe in your inner greatness. I truly believe each and every one of y'all that can hear my voice has inner greatness. Let's step into it. Let's get that jolt, that zap, so that we can get on the path to being our best self. Let's make it happen.
You got to find that spark, that jolt, that catalyst, that thing that just gets things going, because ultimately the land of the land of 1,000 miles or 10,000 steps starts with one step. It's just one step at a time. And we need that nudge. And the reason why we need the nudge is because change is hard. Like Larry was talking about earlier on in the conversation, I like to feel comfortable. I like to feel warm and cozy. The things that I know are going to work this way. And then he followed it up and said, but that's not good. That's not where you want to be. That's not where you want to be. You want to be pushed. You want to struggle a bit. You want to be able to demonstrate an impact. And sometimes the impact is on others. They're people in your team. Sometimes the impact is inside your organization, the company you're a part of. Sometimes the impact is on yourself. And you've just got to be comfortable with looking at it as you're looking at these problems and these challenges that are out there. Am I doing this to impact others? Am I doing this to impact myself? Where am I taking that time for the self-care so that I can put the oxygen mask on, so I'm there to put the oxygen on for others? Because if I don't get it on quick enough, I'm passing out, and then I'm not there for the rest of the team that's out there. So, I'm excited about the book. And when the book is ready to come out, we're going to get you back on the podcast, and we'll talk about a couple of different chapters and work through some of it. The other thing I really like is when you first showed the working copy of it, I thought of that Jolt soda that had all the caffeine and everything else that was in it. Like, I need to get just caffeinated. I bet, a little bit of Jolt soda, and it's this spark. So we're going to go through it. And like Larry said, depending on when this comes out, you will either be at the point where you are just starting to feel the pain related to the resolution and thinking about quitting, or you've just quit and you're back into your rut. And hopefully this conversation is that spark to get you back in and energized to go out and do the thing that you said you were going to do because it was important, because you need to get in shape, and because you need to be there for your family, and you need to, and shape is physical shape, it's mental shape, it's financial shape. So Larry, let's talk about process and practice, about just kind of evaluating things. Because sometimes we say that our goal is one thing, and then we realize that wasn't the goal. That wasn't the right thing. We're focusing time, energy, and attention on the wrong thing not because it's hard and because it's difficult to work through, but because it's just not the right fit. And it's time to move on. What's that practice look like for you?
Yeah. So if you're doing it in a vacuum all alone, there's more opportunity to make a mistake. Now you got to start with self and what your belief is. But I'm a big believer that you want to pressure check from those that are closest to you. Who's closest? Who's in your crew that you trust, that you can run it by to get a third party, a third eye perspective and just feedback. And if you're open to feedback, it's the best gift that anyone can receive, because that's for me, hard work, but also feedback. That's how you get better. That's how you're able to refine your goals. That's how you're able to look at it from a different perspective and say, you know what? Maybe that's not the right goal. You're right. Wow, I had never thought about that. Let me go ahead and make some adjustments. So I'm a big believer. It starts with you, but you can't do it all alone. It's who wants to be a me monster? No one wants to be a me monster. Be a you monster. And that means that you're getting input from all around.
So if you have F on your bingo board all over the place, you have hit bingo at least 2 or 3 times based on all the Fs that have been dropped around here. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the F that I'm most known in my family for dropping. So, Larry, this has been absolutely amazing. I know there are people who are out there listening to this where this is the first time they've been introduced to you. Where can they go find out more about you, what you're working on, where you're going, what you're doing? Where do you want to send people?
Yeah, best way is LinkedIn. Larry Long Jr., that's JR. I got a smile for a mile, the man with the gold mic in his hands. I also have a website, but I'll be honest, my website, I don't keep that as up to date as I should. Shame on me, but that's Larry Long Jr. That's JR, LarryLongJr.com. I would love to connect. Please let me know how I can help, support, and assist you. I'd love the opportunity.
Larry, awesome conversation. I knew it was going to be. Thanks for doing this. If you know of somebody who would gain value from this podcast, find the information interesting, or just enjoy some of the back and forth that we've had, please share it. Let Larry and I know via LinkedIn that you've shared it. Sales is a thinking process. How are you thinking differently about yours?